The City of the Sea. More discoveries are being found all the time in the ancient sunken city of Baiae. 2,000 years ago, Baiae was a Roman resort town. Emperors and elite members of society gathered here to spend their days relaxing in luxury and indulgences. Emperors like Nero and Caligula had vacation homes here. Even Julius Caesar had a majestic villa that he visited when the pressures of the Senate grew too much. But the city ran into a bit of trouble in the 4th century AD. Because the town was built on the slopes of a volcano, volcanic activity caused the earth to dip into the water. Within a few short years, all of Baiae was pushed into the sea and lost. The ruins were rediscovered in the 1940s. An Italian pilot spotted the ghost town hidden off the coast. Since then, all kinds of amazing treasures have been found in the sunken spa town. Most of the ruins are about 12 feet beneath the surface of the water. Marine archaeologists have found stunning statues and bright mosaics. These days, Baiae is a vast archaeological park with new ruins constantly being uncovered. Archaeologist Enrico Galocchio has helped discover over 20 rooms, though he says it will take years to uncover the full scope of the city. The first real attempt at excavation came in 1959. Experts started diving into the city to draw a map of it. There wasn't a significant dig until the 1980s, when a room filled with beautiful marble statues was discovered. Replicas of those statues are still on the seabed today, though the originals were hoisted out and put in the museum. Recent discoveries include ancient baths, fish ponds, breeding pools for moray eels, and epic fountains. The Hexagonal Pyramid. There are pyramids all around the world, from Egypt to Peru. Even though pyramids were built by cultures that never met, separated by vast distances and stretches of time, they are all very similar. Pretty much every major pyramid is shaped like a giant triangle, with 4 sloping sides rising to a point. But in Kazakhstan, archaeologists have found a pyramid that breaks that tradition. They discovered a structure from 3,800 years ago, shaped like a hexagon. They're calling it a hexagonal pyramid, and it's unlike anything on the planet. The recently unearthed pyramid stands proudly amidst the historical landscape of Kirikangir, a region adorned with ancient graves and monuments. The structure is hardly as visually impressive as the pyramids in Egypt. It's currently in ruins, standing only about 10 feet high. Researchers think it was used as an elite burial site, just like most pyramids were. Unfortunately, though, it is in such poor shape that experts are struggling to reconstruct what it looked like when it was first built. They don't know how tall it was exactly, or if it had a roof. They think it was more like a tiered pyramid, similar to Mesopotamian ziggurats. In its ruined state, the hexagon structure looks kind of like a labyrinth with a grave at its center. The hexagonal pyramid was likely built by a group of horse-riding nomads in the 19th century BC. Excavations are still ongoing, but researchers have already revealed a pair of gold earrings and some other pieces of jewelry. They are also investigating the petroglyphs carved into the stone of the structure. The new moon. It's hard to imagine such a thing is possible, but a new moon has just been discovered. Yes, Earth has a brand new moon. Experts using the Pan-STARRS telescope in Hawaii were the ones behind the discovery of 2023 FW13, which they've called a quasi-moon. Experts believe the piece of space rock has been hanging out with the Earth since around 100 BC. The scientists in Hawaii say it will continue circling the planet for another 1,500 years. But just what in the world is a quasi-moon? It's technically an asteroid, but unique in that it orbits the Sun while staying very close to the Earth. The quasi-moon is close enough to the planet to make it seem as if it's orbiting Earth, only it's gravitationally connected to the Sun instead. That's unlike the real moon that's gravitationally connected to Earth. The new moon has no bearing on the tides or anything like that. It's also not a cause for concern since scientists say it won't be crashing into the Earth. The space rock is only about 50 feet in diameter, orbiting the Sun every 365.4 days. It takes almost the exact same amount of time to orbit the Sun as the Earth does, making it our moon-like neighbor until the year 3700. Bigfoot found? Forget about the mystery of the pyramids and the puzzle of human evolution. The greatest mystery is definitely Bigfoot. Does Bigfoot exist, or is it all just a crazy conspiracy? While there is no concrete evidence that Bigfoot is real, some video footage has thrown believers into a frenzy. A man in Mississippi named Josh Highcliffe may have captured the best video evidence ever of the legendary creature. The video is still relatively new enough that people are still talking about it. Many say the few seconds in which a strange black shape can be seen smashing through the woodlands is irrefutable proof of Bigfoot. The footage was taken 9 miles west of Tunica. According to Josh, he saw an enormous creature looking like a gorilla while he wandered through the forest. He captured the creature on video pulling bark off the trunk of a tree. The creature never comes perfectly into focus, and unfortunately the video is a little shaky. Josh wasn't doing his best camera work that day, though he was admittedly frightened. You can hear Josh's ragged breathing in the video as he watched the ape-like beast peeling bark. Josh recorded the creature, which he said was 7 feet tall, for a few seconds before he ran for his life. Do you think the new Bigfoot footage is proof that the myth is real? Let me know in the comments. And now for number 6. But first, it's shout-out time. I wanted to give a big thank you to Jennifer Ballesteri 2810 and Bubba T1000 for supporting this channel. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more videos about amazing discoveries. The Cobra Sphinx. A truly amazing piece of history has been discovered in Egypt. In Aswan, archaeologists were trying to reduce groundwater in the ancient temple of Kom-Ombu when they accidentally dug up a statue. The statue is of a mystical sphinx wearing a cobra crown. Kom-Ombu is positioned at the edge of the Nile River in the south of Egypt. It was built around 305 BC, shortly after Alexander the Great conquered the nation. It had one sanctuary dedicated to the crocodile god Sobek. The other sanctuary of the temple was dedicated to Horus, god of the pharaohs. It's a pretty cool place with elaborate carvings of ancient physicians using primitive surgical equipment. The cobra-crowned sphinx is tiny compared to the Great Sphinx outside the Pyramid of Giza. It only stands about a foot tall compared to the Great Sphinx that towers 66 feet above the desert. Archaeologists think the Aswan Sphinx was a symbol of royal authority held by the new Macedonian rulers. The cobra was typically associated with Ptolemy I, the guy who took control of Egypt after Alexander's death. Smart elephants. Everybody already knows that elephants are super smart, but now a new study has revealed that elephants are even smarter than previously imagined. Researchers have found evidence that savanna elephants in Kenya have names for one another. The research hasn't been peer-reviewed yet, so it's still in its early stages. Nonetheless, scientists were able to identify specific vocal sounds elephants use when communicating with one another. Elephants have a wide range of vocalizations, though most of them can't be heard by human ears. The enormous mammals produce low-frequency rumbles to communicate with other elephants up to almost 3 miles away. Behavioral ecologist Michael Pardo from Colorado State spent hours recording these elephant rumbles in the wild. He and his team combed through about 625 unique rumbles. They were able to identify greeting noises, which were used only when elephants saw each other after a bit of time apart. They also identified very specific noises associated with individual elephants. Scientists think those noises are the elephants' names. The study proves that elephants have their own language and their own names, and even greet each other with hello, just like people do. The Pelican Dino. In a new study, European researchers discovered some shocking facts about a fascinating dinosaur named Irritator challengeri. The dinosaur was a member of the Spinosauridae family, which included carnivorous beasts that stomped around on 2 legs, but had long snouts like crocodiles. The species grew to a length of about 21 feet, initially described in 1996. A collection of fossils from 115 million years ago were found in northeastern Brazil, then shipped to Germany. Those fossils are still kept in the Stuttgart Museum of Natural History. The new study involved researchers digitally reconstructing the skull of I. challengeri using the fossils found over 30 years ago. The reconstruction showed something paleontologists hadn't expected. The creature was able to spread its lower jaw wide to both sides in a very similar way to how a pelican widens its lower beak. They had previously assumed the dinosaur snacked on its victims just like any other carnivore, using its teeth. Instead, the new study revealed that the dinosaur probably scooped fish out of rivers just like a modern pelican. This thing was a 21-foot-long pelican dinosaur. Not only that, but it had the ability to bite extremely rapidly. It likely scooped fish and then chopped them into bits before swallowing the pieces. The Ivory Lady. When researchers uncovered an ornate tomb in Spain built 5,000 years ago, they assumed it belonged to a man. Archaeologists found a dagger inside the tomb made of rock crystal, along with luxurious items like ivory tusks. The suspicion was that the tomb was built for an important male member of a primitive society. But in July 2023, a research group from the University of Seville changed the narrative. They analyzed 2 teeth found in the tomb and determined they came from a woman. Scientists now know the mysterious Spanish tomb belonged to a very important female. She's been nicknamed the Ivory Lady. Researchers from the university say the Ivory Lady was a very special person. She was buried alone in a megalithic tomb with hugely valuable objects. Objects such as ostrich eggshells, which were highly coveted by prehistoric people. However, there's still a lot of unanswered questions. Who was the Ivory Lady, and why was she so important? According to researcher Garcia San Juan, the Ivory Lady's burial is incomparable. Other burials in Spain from the same time period pale in comparison to hers. Out of the roughly 1,700 Copper Age burials found across Spain and Portugal on the Iberian Peninsula, the Ivory Lady's tomb is the most extravagant. For about 250 years after her death, other graves were built nearby, but never within 100 feet. She was clearly revered continuously for centuries, with nobody daring to disturb the ground near her burial spot. Was this woman seen as a goddess? Was she a legendary queen who dominated Spain at the beginning of civilization? These are the questions archaeologists may never be able to answer. Do you have any theories? Let me know in the comments below, and hit that subscribe button while you're at it. The heaviest animal. Recent excavations in Peru's Ica Valley revealed the bones of what may have been the heaviest animal that ever lived on this planet. An extinct species of whale was identified after years of researchers trying to pry its giant bones out of the rocks. The first traces of the creature's skeleton were discovered over a decade ago by scientists at the Natural History Museum in Lima, but it took a really long time to get the bones out of the rocky slope in the desert. Only now do researchers finally have all the available pieces. Those pieces include 13 vertebrae from the animal's backbone, a single hip bone, and 4 ribs. Each vertebra weighs roughly 220 pounds. Each of its ribs is about 5 feet long. The colossal whale is a new species which scientists have named Pericitus colossus. The creature lived about 39 million years ago. Alberto Collaretta from the University of Pisa said the whale is unlike anything he has ever seen before. Scientists were able to estimate the whale's total weight at around 375 tons. That's pretty incredible when you consider the blue whale only reaches a maximum of 200 tons, and a blue whale is the biggest creature that ever lived. The big difference is that the prehistoric whale only stretched about 66 feet long, whereas blue whales can grow over 100 feet long. Still, Pericitus colossus was way heavier. It had super dense bones and likely floated over the seafloor. But since no skull has been found, scientists say it's impossible to say what the whale was eating to maintain its enormous body. The Hittite Archive. About 7,000 years ago, the site of Kayapanar in Turkey became a way station for Assyrian traders. As the centuries went by, the small way station grew into a trading colony called Karum. Then in the early Bronze Age, 3,300 years ago, the Hittites transformed the colony into a major city. Its name changed to Samuha, and so did its purpose. Samuha was no longer merely a trading center. It was the epicenter for cult worship of the Hurrian goddess of the night. Archaeologists were recently excavating the ruins of the city when they uncovered clay-stamped seals that belonged to Hattusili III. He was the ruler of the extraordinary Hittite Empire during the 13th century BC. He's most famous for making a treaty between the Hittites and the Egyptians, who for 200 years previously had fought over the eastern Mediterranean. Archaeologists also found seals belonging to his wife Pudyahipa and their children. The seals were cool, but not the most exciting thing found. The big discovery was a collection of fragments covered in cuneiform inscriptions. The The inscriptions detail the events of a festival, along with records of fortunes told by an oracle. According to the researchers, these fragmented tablets were likely part of an imperial archive. The rest of the archive is long gone. There's no way of knowing all the information that was stored within it. However, just finding a few fragments of such a thing is cool enough. It's proof that the Hittites held records of their history, likely inside the royal palace. If all these records could be found, it could reveal so much more about the biblical Hittites and their history before their mysterious destruction about 1190 BC. Which of these awesome new discoveries did you find the most amazing? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and come back soon for more cool stuff from the channel.